Hello everyone and welcome to another episode on the Ordinary Boy Boxing channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing a fight that happened this past Saturday between Vasiliy Lomachenko and Jamaine Ortiz. The fight took place at Madison Square Gardens. So I watched the fight live as it happened. I scored each round as it happened, so at the end of each round I did my little score. I wasn't actually sure of the final outcome until the end of the fight, and I calculated my scores. It was that kind of fight, and obviously I knew what my score was just before the judges announced what their scorecard was and the winner and who the winner was. So going into this fight, Lomachenko, he had that loss. He lost on points to Teofimo Lopez, which was a surprise to many. After that, his comeback fight, he had a TKO win over, I'm going to try and say this name correctly, Masayoshi Nakatami. Don't know if I said that right. And then finally, just before this fight, he had a points win over Richard Comey. And then Ortiz, so leading up to this fight, he had a majority draw to Joseph Adorno. He had a points win over Nahir Albright, and then finally, just before this fight, he had a points win over Jamal Herring. Now, coming into this fight, I'd followed Teofimo Lopez's career up until his points loss to Teofimo Lopez. Now, his comeback fight that he had against Masayoshi Nakatami, I wasn't even aware it happened. To be perfectly honest, I'm not sure why, because Lomachenko's a massive fighter, but that fight happened, and then I found out about it after. And I did watch his points win over Richard Comey. In his last fight, Richard Comey, I thought he looked good. It was a hard one because I didn't know much about his opponent, Richard Comey, but I thought he looked decent. Obviously, the points loss he had previously to Teofimo Lopez was quite a surprise. I didn't think that would happen. And then with Ortiz, the only fight I'd seen of his was the points win over Jamal Herring. I thought that he looked really good. Again, I didn't know much about Ortiz, and I didn't know that much about Herring, so I couldn't really base it on anything. I watched that fight knowing that the winner would probably fight Lomachenko. So anyway, we're going to this fight that happened on Saturday night at Madison Square Gardens. As I said, I scored along with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each round. I'm going to tell you what I scored it. And I'm just going to give you a brief kind of sentence and my summing up of each round. So the fight started, and in round one, Loma was really struggling to land, and Ortiz was coming up with some great flurries, lots of energy from Ortiz on that first round. So I scored that a 10-9 to Ortiz. Going into round two, Loma was still struggling to find his rhythm, but the more meaningful punches were coming from Loma, I felt, but there was not enough landing for me to be able to give him the round. There was still a lot more activity from Ortiz, so again, I gave the round to him. That's a 10-9 to him. Round three, a closer round. Ortiz was missing a lot. In part of this round, Loma made Ortiz stumble, and he followed up with a flurry, and that won him the round for me, so that was a 10-9 to Loma. In round four, another very close round. Loma was struggling to find his rhythm though. Ortiz throwing a lot, but missing a lot. Not a lot landing. But Ortiz did win this round for me because he did have a very good ending to that round. He's very good at kind of steering the round, so I gave that round to him. That's a 10-9 for Ortiz. Okay, so going on to round five, Ortiz, you could tell now, was starting to feel the pace. The pace and energy that he had at the beginning of the fight had started to dissipate. There was some absolutely beautiful combinations from Loma in this round, and it felt like Loma was starting to find his rhythm. So this was a 10-9 to Loma in round five. Going on to round six, this was a pick-em round for me. Very close. I can see why someone would argue either way. To me, Ortiz stole it at the end, like he has been doing through the fight. When Loma found his rhythm, he looked amazing, but again, just not enough of that in this round. So that was a 10-9 to Ortiz in that round. Going on to round 7, Loma was really struggling with Ortiz's speed still, and this was a factor throughout the fight, I felt, but he was still struggling, especially with that jab that Ortiz had. It was an easy round to score. Ortiz seemed to have found his second wind in that round. He was starting to like how he did at the beginning of the fight, so that's a 10-9 to Ortiz again. Going into round 8, a lot more urgency from Loma in this round. He was trying to smother Ortiz's work because obviously Loma was really finding it hard to get through on that jab. So instead in this round he came up close to him. For me though, the work rate from Ortiz won that round. There was just not enough success from Loma. Going into round 9, more intelligent pressure in this round from Loma. Beautiful punches from him as well, beautiful combinations. So that was a Loma round. I gave that 10-9 to Loma. Round 10, most of Ortiz's punches were blocked in this round and most of Loma's landed. So that was quite an easy round. Again, 10-9 for Loma. Round 11, the more impressive punches were coming from Loma now. If Ortiz had managed to keep that energy he had from the beginning of the fight, it would have been very different. But again, I gave that round to Loma, so that's 10-9 to Loma. And going into the 12th and the final round, Ortiz was getting caught with far more the dangerous punches. So again, that is a 10-9 round to Loma. So, at the end of all that, round 1 and 2 I gave to Ortiz. Round 3 I gave to Loma. Round 4 I gave to Ortiz. Round 5 I gave to Loma. Round 6, 7, 8 to Ortiz. And then round 9, 10, 11 and 12 to Loma. Which meant I scored it 114 to 114. I scored it a draw. Now, as I said, when I was calculating the scores, I actually had no idea I had a draw. Just before I calculated them, I thought to myself, who do I think's won this fight? And I honestly didn't know. So a draw was probably a fair shot. Now, if either fighter had won by a round or two, I'd have no argument. That's what I thought before the judges' scores were announced. So the judges' scores were 115, 113 for Loma, 116, 112 for Loma, and 117 and 111 for Loma. So Lomachenko winning there on points. I don't want to say it's a robbery because I think Lomachenko winning was okay. It's an okay decision. I had a draw. So the 115, 113, you know, I think there was 3 or 4 really close rounds that could have went either way. So 115, 113, I'm okay with that. 116, 112, okay, yeah, I'm okay with that. 117, 111 is ridiculous, and I feel really sorry for Jamaine Ortiz on that. Because I don't think that scorecard is a fair reflection of the effort he put in. Yeah, so I did think that was a bit of a shame. Some notes from the fight that I had. I thought Ortiz's jab was amazing. It's just a shame that he didn't have more on that jab. A lot of the times it was just more of a range find or just keep him away. If he'd put a bit more power onto that jab, if he could, then it would have been a lot more effective. The pace suited Loma in this fight, which is strange because in previous fights, when the pace slows down, that's when Loma starts to take over. But in the middle of this fight, when obviously Ortiz started to gas, I think Loma appreciated that as well, and it gave Loma a chance to kind of readjust and catch his breath as well. Ortiz seemed to tire around the 4th round, which was a shame. I think if he'd have kept, like I said, if he'd have kept that energy up throughout the fight, I think he would have won it. I think if either fighter had gone to the body more, they would have had so much more success, and that was something neither fighter did. And as it went down the stretch, an older Lomachenko and obviously a gassing Ortiz, if either one of those had worked the body a bit more, it could have been what won the fight. This is actually, and I only found this out while watching the fight from the broadcast, but this is the first time Ortiz has been in a 12-round fight, so that was quite impressive for him. But you can obviously see him gassing. He's never gone 12 rounds before. I was surprised at how early he did gas. There were shades of the old pound-for-pound Lomachenko in this fight, but it just wasn't enough for me. So what happens now? So Devin Haney came into the ring afterwards, and now it's looking like the fight between Lomachenko and Devin Haney will happen. Now, my prediction for that, I will do a more detailed quick pick if that fight gets announced, but to me, Devin Haney beats Vasiliy Lomachenko. He beats him, and he beats him well. I think he may even knock him down. Not sure if he knocks him out, but I think there'll be a few knockdowns in that fight. I really, really rate Devin Haney. I think he's just coming up to the peak of his career, and I think Lomachenko is definitely on the slide. I've always been a really, really big fan of Lomachenko, but what we saw on Saturday was shades of his. It was in snippets of him at the top. It wasn't throughout the whole fight, and I think if he goes in with someone like Devin Haney, I think that will get found out, unfortunately. So yeah, that's my opinions on the fight. That was my review. Again, I had it 114 a draw. I thought 115, 113 was okay. 116, 112 okay. 117, 111 no. So yeah, that was my view. Overall I enjoyed the fight. It was one of those fights that was so close, it added to the intrigue of the fight because you didn't actually know what was going to happen. And obviously, it's even if he's not at his best, it's always a pleasure to watch a genius like Lomachenko fight. I really look forward to if they make the Devin Haney Lomachenko fight, and that will definitely be one that I'll watch. And as for Jamaine Ortiz, he's still young, and he really did a good account of himself. I don't think the scorecards are reflecting that, but he can come again, and hopefully he now has risen his stock and can be in some more good fights. Anyway, so yeah, that was my review for Saturday night's Lomachenko versus Ortiz fight. Let me know in the comments below what you thought. Who did you think won? And what do you think about Devin Haney versus Lomachenko next? How do you see that fight going? I've just started this YouTube channel in the past week, and I just want to say thank you to the people that have subscribed. It's meant a lot. The views and the comments and the subscriptions that I've got over this past week have been far more than I ever thought I would get. So please, if you do enjoy this video or enjoy any of the videos on my channel, then please do share them with your friends or on social media. Give me a comment to let me know what you think, and give it a like if you enjoyed it. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.